Hello and welcome, guys. We continue talking about our cognitive skills training intermediate level. And in the previous video, we were talking a lot about core beliefs and assumptions that come from them, and also behavioral strategies that we might have depending on different core beliefs. And today we are going to do another exercise called Continuum. Continuum. Basically, what you need to do is take one of your core beliefs that you found out in the previous practice. Like, let's say, core belief, I am a bad person. Okay. Then what you're gonna do, you're gonna make this kind of scale from 0 to 10 or from 0 to 100, as you like, and you're gonna ask yourself, like, okay, 10 is the best person that I know, or the best person to ever exist. 0 is the worst person to ever exist. How bad as a person am I? And you ask yourself that. So, for example, you really believe that you are a bad person and you give yourself 3 out of 10. So your number is 3. So what we're gonna do next is we're gonna ask you who you think is worse than you on this scale. Like, for example, you say you are a 3, and I ask you, like, how do you think, who is even worse than you? And you say, like, oh well, maybe some kind of scammer who steals other people money who really need it. So I ask you, like, what point would you give to them on this scale? And you would say, like, maybe 1. And I can ask you, like, and who is even worse than this scammer? And you think, like, maybe it's a killer, and how much would you give to him? And you say, like, oh, it's even worse than 0 on this scale then. So what we're gonna do next, we're gonna either raise your score, or just add minus score. So let's raise your score. So we suggest that the killer is the 1, the person who is a scammer is 2, and actually when we raise, we suggest that the person who is a scammer, let's say they have a 4. So here we have a scammer, and here we have the person who is a killer. And I ask you, and where you are on this scale now, and compared to those people, to scammer and a killer, maybe you are better as a person, so you can say, okay, I'm 5, okay, I'm not this bad. And then I can continue asking you, like, and who is even worse, and who is even worse? So somewhere over here we can have Hitler, or Stalin, or anybody else who committed mass murders and repressions and all that. Even lower we can have some, I don't know, pedophile who tortures children before killing them, and so on, like all the most horrific things that you find out. And the goal of this exercise is actually forming more realistic opinion of yourself. So we start with this idea that you are 3 out of 10, that you are this bad kind of person. But when we actually place other people on the scale, we can find out that actually you are not 3 out of 10, but you are 6, or you are 7, or you are an 8. So this kind of continuum exercise really helps you not to see your beliefs in black and white, that one is either a good person or a bad person, but see them in continuum, see all those nuances and differences. And what you can also do, you can think about people who are better than you. And you can use this kind of continuum exercise for any core belief that you have. Like, for example, you have core belief that you're weak. You give yourself a score out of 10, how weak you are, and you try to imagine who could be weaker than you. Like, for example, somebody who cannot take care of their own physical and basic needs. They are physically weaker than you. Who is also weaker than you? Well, maybe somebody who doesn't know how to read and write. Okay, which point do they have? And our goal is to have more realistic perception of our belief about ourselves. So more realistic perception of how bad we actually are, or how stupid we actually are, or how good of a professional we actually are. You can also use this kind of scale, this kind of continuum, if, for example, you feel like you are not competent enough in your job and you criticize yourself for every small mistake. You can make the same scale and create it. And also, what I insist you do is that you put here only people that actually existed and about whose life you know things. Because many of us have this image like, oh, this kind of pretty girl on Instagram, or this person on the internet, or this genius mathematician or whoever, that they are living perfect life, they are perfect people and so on, but we don't really know them. So when you're placing somebody above you, make sure you actually know them pretty well to judge if they're a good person or not, if they're smart or not, if they're talented or not, and so on. And most likely, like most people are pretty smart nowadays. If you are able to watch this video, you can read, you can understand English language, you can have access to technology and so on. So it makes you pretty smart. So on this scale, you will be pretty high. And this exercise helps you to see how black and white, how kind of exaggerated your core beliefs can be. You realize that you are not as stupid as you thought, or not as ugly as you thought, and not as dangerous as you thought, and other people as well cannot be as dangerous as you thought. By the way, if you have ideas about other people, like for example, you have this core belief that other people are stupid, also do a continuum, so that you stop seeing others as just stupid and you start seeing variety in their stupidity and their smartness. And also, if you have core belief that other people are dangerous, make a scale of what is dangerous and what is not. This scale technique is really, really wonderful. I really recommend you use it for each of your core beliefs. This way you will understand your real position, and you will have more realistic perception of your qualities, or your like disadvantages and so on. And this way, instead of criticizing yourself and blaming yourself, you can take steps to actually improve your life. Because if you see that you are 7 out of 10 and actually you're not as bad as you thought, and you can compare yourself to people whom you consider better than you, and decide what you can develop in your own habits or behaviors to get closer to them. This is extremely useful exercise, and it will be your home task. Taking all the core beliefs that you found and doing a continuum for each one of those. Also, you can do the same continuum talking about the world. Like, for example, if you have the idea that the world is chaotic, you can put a 10, and a 10 would be a world in perfect order, and 0 would be the world that is super chaotic. And you can give a point to our world and find out where we are on this scale. And I have done this exercise, and actually there are so many things that work just in order in our world, but we just don't pay attention to them. Like, for example, sun getting up every morning at the same, more or less, place and time, like having gravitation that is stable, like not having meteor shower falling on us, like having access to fresh air around us and so on. Like, we are able to survive, and we are almost certain that tomorrow we will be able to survive. So actually, even talking about the world, we oftentimes exaggerate the unpredictability or chaoticness of the world. If you look at seasonal changes like spring, winter, autumn, summer, and so on, this also comes in orderly fashion. So if you look at science as well, it's also not chaotic. There are some laws that are always valid on any planet in the universe. So what you can do, you can make the same continuum from 0 to 10, where 10 is super order, the world in order, and 0 is the world in chaos, and actually see that our world where we live is pretty much fine. Okay, actually it's not as chaotic as it could be. What you also can do, you can use this kind of continuum even when you have some kind of existential crisis and crisis of meaning. Like you can, for example, have it that meaningful life, the most meaningful life is 10 out of 10, and 0 is no meaning in life at all, nothing that you love about it, nothing that you care about it, and so on. And you can place yourself depending on where you are, and so on. So continuum is extremely useful technique. It's used not only to change your core beliefs, but to set goals, to decide what steps you should take towards them, and many other other purposes. Sorry, I've been talking too much today. Yes, but today we're going to use it for your core beliefs. Look, I have very cute cup. So your home task is taking all of your core beliefs that we found out in previous exercises and making a continuum for each of them, where you only put people whom you know, more or less like real people, not some idealized cartoon characters, okay? Real people with real problems. And then decide what place you have. And most likely, if you have core beliefs, you will place yourself very low, but then when you compare yourself to others, you will place yourself higher and higher and higher. So this is your home task, and let me know how it goes in the comments. I'm always happy to read your replies, of course, and I see you in the next video. Bye bye.